Hi YouTube, it's been a minute, hope you're doing well. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be walking through some of my sales that have happened over the past couple of months on eBay specifically. And so I have a bunch of tabs pulled up here. I'm going to go over these one by one. I'll explain some of my thought process, some of maybe a little bit of where I got them. Some of these are going to be very obvious, and some of these are going to be ones that maybe don't sell for a huge number, but are ones that I actually do recommend picking up because they sell fairly quickly. And if this kind of video is helpful for you, feel free to let me know down below. Obviously, feel free to like and subscribe, share with a friend, all of that good stuff. And thank you so much for your time. So, first of all, I have this Hermes men's shirt. And if I remember correctly, this went out to Japan, which, if you know, is not particularly surprising for vintage, for higher quality pieces to go to Japan. And this sold for $130 plus shipping. I had it listed for $179.95. I usually list a little bit over market because I kind of expect I always have offers on. And if you're interested in seeing what I have currently listed on my store, the link will be in the description down below. If you see something you like, send me a friendly offer. Odds are, unless you completely lowball me, odds are I'll either accept or send you something in the middle. But right over here, I have this Hermes shirt. It sold for $130. Shipped out without any issues. I think I actually had this for a couple months, but it had a couple small stains on it, so I took it to go get dry cleaned, and because of that it sat around for a little bit. But as soon as I listed it, it sold, I think, within a week, if I remember correctly. And also, I know that if you're looking at some of these pictures, and I'm not going to sit here and say that my pictures are the best, but if you do want to make a really inexpensive, cheap backdrop, what you can do, and this is actually something that really improved my overall picture quality, what you can do is you can go to Home Depot and buy their biggest size cardboard box, and then go to Ross or to your closet and find a solid color sheet, and then just staple that over the box. So you'll be able to fold it when you're putting it away, but then unfold it and put it as a flat surface if you're in a position where you aren't necessarily able to build a whole entire photo stand or photo section. So cost maybe $10-15 total. Highly recommend, definitely help with my picture quality. But this Hermes shirt, as you can see, sold for $130. I do have the sales information over here on my other screen, but I'm not going to be pulling that up because I don't want to share information accidentally. So I'll show you the listing, and then I'll share how much it sold for. Over here, Loro Piana. This is obviously the mainline Loro Piana stuff is extraordinarily expensive, but they do have a lot of collaborations where they provide the wool for a lot of other brands. So you'll commonly see them with Brooks Brothers, you'll commonly see them with Hickey Freeman, you might see them with Hart Schaffner Marks, you might see them with a couple other brands, but those are the main ones that you're likely to see them with. And the way that you know that it's Loro Piana is on the inside there will be this tag right over here. So if you see this tag, and the tag itself might say something different over here, like where this one says Sunset Cashmere and Silk, it might say something a little bit different. It might be like a Super 110s wool or something like that. But this top part, the fabric made in Italy by Loro Piana, is usually will be on the inner left of a blazer. So if you see this, you know that you're looking at a good piece. I will say that their blazers have kind of come down, like especially like when they do a collaboration, their blazers they just aren't selling as quickly as they were for me before, but they still sell for a good number. So this one, and I just use this as an example because this one was cashmere and silk. It's got this nice check pattern to it, and you can see these are my older pictures where I was just taking a picture up against the wall. This was listed July last year. So it took a while to sell. It took about 6 months to sell. It sold on January 15th. It sold for $89.95, the full asking price. I think I did originally started at around $150 and then kind of brought it down because it wasn't getting a lot of views. And that's also something, if you, after a certain period of time, you see that your item is not getting any views, that's kind of an indicator for you that you might want to do a price adjustment on it. Or if you don't have any good keywords in it, then you might want to look for those. But with this, I'm happy with the title. Obviously, my pictures have improved since then, but I knew that I wanted to price adjust it until it sold at full price for what I was asking at the time. And also, I recently have been looking into learning some militaria type stuff, and I've got a really, really cool piece at the end of the video, so keep an eye out for that as well. This right over here is what you call chocolate chip camo. This is kind of what they were using in Desert Storm in the early 90s. And so you're looking for this pattern. I don't have a better way to describe it other than calling it chocolate chip. This is definitely something that you're looking out for. This I had listed for $39.95. It sold. I took it off for $32 plus shipping. I'm happy with that. And I think I paid $7 for this at Salvation Army. I think they had two of these. This is the large. They had a medium, which I still have listed. I just got it a couple weeks ago. And then they also had a pair of the pants, which I think were an extra small. And then the pants sold really quickly as well. I actually don't have those pulled up here, but I don't have those pulled up here, but those sold really quick. Next up, so this is a pair of Asics Noosa Tri 14. So they might come in different colorways, but you can see right over here where it says Noosa Tri is the model number. And these were actually a size 14, bigger size. These sold for the full price of $50.96. I think I was running an end of month discount for 15% off. So they did sell at that full price. I think I initially listed them at like $79.95. And they weren't listed for that long. They just kind of got caught up in a sale. I listed them February 17th and they sold on February 25th. And so I got these for $15 at Goodwill around town. Asics is definitely a brand to keep an eye out for. They've kind of crossed a little bit into like mid to, I wouldn't say high fashion, but they've definitely crossed over and kind of filled some of the gaps that a lot of the streetwear and hypebeast type stuff has not really been filling recently. Asics, Solomon are two of the brands that have kind of filled that gap. Hoka's, you could maybe say On Clouds as well. But not every pair of Asics is going to be worth it, but you'll be able to look them up by the style number if you wanted to, and that would be like the F821, the F821-022 right there would be the style number. Actually, no, sorry, it would be this one at the top right there, the 101B368. So this is the Asics Noosa Tri. I've sold these a couple of times. Both times they sold fairly fast, even in a pretty large size, with these being the size 14. Next up, this is kind of obvious. This is a Ralph Lauren. This is a Aztec print knit Oxford. It says it on the tag over here. Where was that? Yeah, you can see the knit Oxford. Western shirt, anything Aztec, Western, Southwestern, etc. from Ralph Lauren is going to be valuable. I got this at a thrift store. I think it was $10 or $15. It sold within a few. Let me see. I listed it on January 21st, and it sold January 21st. So same day listed. I probably listed it for too low. I listed it for $79.95. It sold for $79.95. New with tags. Men's XXL, cotton Oxford, Aztec, Ralph Lauren shirt. So probably undersold it, but I was very happy getting, like, I think I had looked at comps and that was kind of right around where previous sales had been. Looking back at this is the kind of thing where, because it's new with tags, because it's specific and kind of the exact niche that Ralph Lauren kind of owns nowadays, I probably should have listed this higher and expected it to sell a tiny bit slower and taken an offer on it. So I probably should have listed it for like 130 and expected to get like maybe 100 or 110. But also selling same day for 80, in my opinion, is better than waiting 2 weeks for 110. Fast nickel, slow dime kind of thought process. So I was very happy with this, no complaints. Next up, so J. Crew Ludlow. J. Crew is a brand where a lot of their basics are hit or miss, but they have a Ludlow sub-brand, and if you look at their label, usually it will be underneath, it'll say Ludlow, and their Ludlow blazers are definitely, as long as you're getting them at a reasonable price, are usually a go-to. The blazers on their own will sell for anywhere between 45 to 80, give or take. Some of them will sell for more, like the Ludlow Moons, which we'll take a look at in a second, although that one had a flaw on it. This was a two-piece suit. I listed it January 9th. It sold on February 27th. You could see I had it listed for $109.95. It got caught up in the end of February discount that I did, 15% off my store. And I actually took an offer on it for $75. I think I paid $20 for these, so I'm not mad at that. I definitely thought that I would get closer to the full like 110 that I listed it for. And I was surprised that it took a month and a half to sell, considering that it was a two-piece. But at the same time, again, 20 to 75, I'm never going to be mad about that. This is something that you should definitely keep an eye out for. So these are the Peter Millar Crown Sport EB66 pants. So Peter Millar pants are generally a good idea, but the EB66s are pretty much always a good idea as long as you're getting these at the right price. I actually got these at Marshall's, and I think I paid $32 for these. Or maybe I got them at TJ Maxx. But the way, if you're looking these up, you'll actually, on the inner tag, and I don't think I have a picture of this, but on the inner tag, underneath like the material tag, there will be a small tag that will actually have a style number. So you can actually look up any recent Peter Millar piece with the style number, and in that style number you should see EB66. So even if you don't know what you're looking at, if it has that EB66 in the style number, you're doing pretty well. I actually found a pair of these at a thrift store yesterday, and they were like a tan khaki pair, and there were a couple giveaways. First of all, the 5 pocket, I think all of their 5 pockets are EB66, but I could be wrong about that. But second, when I looked it up and I saw the EB66 in the style number, I knew it was exactly this. These, I sold a few of these, and I had one return, and then that ended up, when I relisted it, it sold again. So this one, I think, let me see if I can find this exact listing. I think this sold for because I think I had 3 pairs of these, and one sold for 76, one sold for 76, one sold for 70, and then 70. So I was pretty comfortably getting 70 to 80 bucks for these, 70 to 75 bucks for these. I paid 32 for them new. It's probably a little bit higher than I would have liked, but at the same time, I'm not going to be mad about doubling my money on this. And so definitely something to keep an eye out for is the Peter Millar EB66 pants. And you should be able to find them new at your Marshalls or at your TJ Maxx, etc. And I will also say that something that I've found, and this isn't necessarily only true, but you'll probably have better luck finding good Peter Millar pieces at a Marshall's in maybe not as good of a neighborhood, because it's not necessarily like a kind of trendy brand as much. So a lot of like the trendier stuff that they might have there might go, and a lot of people might skip Peter Millar if they don't necessarily know what they're looking for. I know that I was at one where, because they have like the clearance rack and then the final clearance, and basically their entire final clearance rack had a ton of Peter Millar. That was a different buy than this, but a ton of Peter Millar shirts, which can be hit or miss. So again, you're going to need to look them up by the style number, and you can just go to Google and type in Peter and then type in the style number, and it should come up as long as it's within the past 4 years or so. But I will say I actually had a really good luck going to a neighborhood that maybe wasn't as affluent and going to a Marshall's there and finding a lot of Peter Millar, so that might be helpful for you. Next up, this is really, really obvious. Vintage Levi's 501XX. These were tagged men's 33 by 32 and measured to 30 by 30. They're button fly, they're red tab, made in USA. If you look here, you could see the made in the USA, but then if you look in the tag, you could also see the made in the USA. I think these were from 1996. I should have taken a picture of the back tab, but I actually just shipped these out yesterday, so I remember looking. They were from 1996, so they're not like super old. These sold for full price of $79.95. I actually did have a return on these, which was slightly annoying. Apparently the person said that it didn't fit. It's just how it goes. And they sold the same day when I relisted them. So obviously, or I think, was it the same day or the next day? Oh, sorry, they sold 5 days later. I listed them on March 12th and then they sold March 17th. It felt like the same day. So obviously, Levi's made in USA are great. The 501XX is definitely going to go for a premium as well if it's vintage made in the USA. And a couple ways that you can tell that is if it's made in the USA, it should say on the back right over here. That's the fastest way to tell. But then also on the inner left leg, there should be a tag that says made in the USA as well. You can pretty much guarantee that if it's got the two tags on the inner right belt line, then that's going to be fairly modern, post 2006 approximately. This over here is another good example of how, and well, not even another good example. This is a good example of something that a lot of people skip because they don't actually look things up. And this sold the same day that I listed it. It sold for $75. I listed it for $89.95. And you could say that I undersold it. Now, the reason why this sold, this is a Peter Millar Seaside Wash men's polo. The reason why this sold is nothing to do with that. This polo would sell for $30 on its own. The reason why it sold for that is because of the golf and country club that is on this. This is from Cypress Point Club, which is a golf and country club in, I believe, Monterey. And so sales on their merch, for lack of a better term, is consistently in like the $75 to $100 range for their basics. And so when I saw that, I was at the store. I know that some golf clubs are like some, not like the golf clubs, but like some golf clubs, some country clubs are going to be worth looking up, and some of them are just not going to. But because of that, I know that I should be looking them up. So I looked this up in the store. I saw that it had a great sell-through. I saw that it sold for a great number. And then I went ahead and listed it. It sold same day for $75. And before I was talking about going to that Marshalls and how I got a bunch of Peter Millar shirts, this was one of them. So this is the Peter Millar Crown Crafted Calcolo Italian flannel shirt. And so, again, I just looked up that style number right there, the MF23. I think the MF23, the 23 is the year, and then the rest of that will be like the style number. But I looked it up. Once I had this style name, the Calcolo flannel, I went and checked my comps on that, and I saw that they were selling consistently new with tags in the 75 to 100 range. I listed it for $99.95. I listed it on January 17th. It sold on January 17th for $75. So I was very happy with that. And there was actually a bunch of their shirts that I skipped because I was checking the style numbers, and some of them didn't actually have a lot of sales history when I looked up the actual style name, but some of them look like they sold really well. This is one of them that sold well. Now, this is kind of funny. So this is a G-Unit hoodie. I actually got this. I was at a Goodwill, and on my way out, I just checked the women's section for jackets and hoodies and sweaters. And this is one that I was surprised was there because this is obviously not a woman's. This is a G-Unit hoodie. This is, I believe, early to mid 2000s. And this was listed on February 15th. It sold February 22nd. I listed it for $129.95. I took an offer for $75. I wasn't really expecting $130. The sales were kind of all over the place between like that $30 to $150 range. So I just listed it high, expecting to get an offer. I was more than happy with this. I think I got it for $12. Maybe it was $12.99 or something like that. Now, the thing that was funny about this was the person that when I was checking this out, I was like, oh, yeah, this is super cool. This is fun. This is a G-Unit hoodie. And they were like, what's G-Unit? And at that point, I knew that I had reached a certain moment in life. And so I told him, I was like, well, you know how like Eminem and 50 Cent came up together, and Eminem kind of brought 50 Cent along with him, and Eminem had D12, which was his rap group from Detroit. Well, 50 Cent had G-Unit, which was his rap group from New York, and explained it to him. But a lot of this early 2000s Y2K era rap gear is selling really, really well nowadays. So it's something that you might want to keep an eye out for as well. And I probably undersold this. Again, fast nickel, slow down. You can have your own opinion on that, but I would rather sell things quickly. This is another item to keep an eye out for. So Bonobos is a brand that some of their items are hit or miss. Some of their basics, like their pants will sell for maybe $20-$25. Their shirts will sell for $15 to $25 depending on them. Some of them can be better, like their flannels. But their blazers actually do pretty well, especially the ones that have this Lanfico Vortex tag on the inside. This is a cotton blazer, and this one sold for $70. I listed it for $79.95. I listed it on January 9th. It sold January 19th. So basically full price, nearly full price. And again, probably got this for $10 to $15. Considering what blazers are at the thrift stores around here. And just something to keep an eye out for. I actually just listed another one of these. I think a men's 46. I listed it yesterday. And also, because the shoulders kind of don't have a lot of, they don't have any padding or anything like that, you can use the unstructured keyword as well. This is also Bonobos. This is with the Baird McNutt Irish Linen. You'll oftentimes see, I think J. Crew has a collaboration with Baird McNutt, but Bonobos apparently does as well. So this is an Irish linen cotton off-white blazer. This, I listed it on January 15th. It sold February 6th. I listed it for $84.95 and it sold for $72. So keep an eye out for Bonobos blazers. They definitely sell well and fairly quickly as well. Now, when we talk about YouTuber merch, it's very hit or miss. Some of them can be good, some of them cannot be good. It really depends on the piece. And it also means that you will need to know what it is that you're looking at. So this over here is from a YouTuber named Jay Schlatt. This is a crew neck by his brand, Schlatt & Co., which I actually didn't, I mean, obviously he has merch, but I didn't know that was his merch, but I looked it up and it was very obvious. I wouldn't necessarily say he's, like, edgy, but he, like, does a lot of occasionally juvenile humor. This looks like it was for a fundraiser of some sort. It says Thunderballs, an approved message by Schlatt & Co. There's a bunch of his merch sells. Like, his merch overall had a good sell-through rate, where some other YouTuber merch that I've seen does not. So I was happy to pick this up. I think I paid $12 or $15 for this, and this sold pretty quickly, actually. I listed it on February 5th. It sold February 7th. I listed it for $79.95. It sold for $68. And overall, again, YouTuber merch can be hit or miss, and it's really going to be a matter of, one, knowing to recognize that, and then also checking it out. And if you're the kind of person who's just more curious, and even if you don't know the YouTuber and you're just looking up tags, if you had looked up Schlatt & Co., you would have probably seen that this was a good item to sell, because overall it does have good sell-through. There was one previous sale of a piece like this that I think was around this range, maybe a little bit lower, but there weren't, I don't think, any of this one listed, so I think I went a little bit higher than expected. Or than I was supposed to, which I oftentimes do with more specific pieces. Next up, so this is a vintage 1970s era Lee denim pair of overalls made in USA, and this was the tag. I actually looked up when I got this. I was looking it up on a website that had a bunch of the Lee tags, and that's how I was able to date it. And so if you do see this tag. I think it was on the inside. Oh, no, it was on the back, actually. Yeah, if you see this tag for Lee, then you know that that's going to be 70s era Lee. I had this listed for $79.95. I listed it December, and it sold March 3rd, so that's slower than I like. I know 3 months is actually pretty good for moving inventory, but it was slower than I expected with these. I listed them for $79.95. They sold for $65, and pretty cool piece. I was pretty happy to find these. I think I paid $20 or $25 for them. But it's the kind of thing that, you know, one, I knew that they would go in the 60 to 80 range. I actually originally thought they would go for more than that. I think I price adjusted this a couple times. But also, there's something to be said for just having cool pieces in your store, because you want to, even if it's just an eBay store and it's not your own website, or you're not like brand building on social media, some of the same concepts apply, where you want to kind of be known as the person who has interesting pieces, and that when people go to your store, they can find something that they like, but then if they want to look for other things that are interesting, they'll be able to find them as well. So it's just something simple to keep in mind. I mentioned earlier J. Crew Ludlow and the Moon. So this is the J. Crew Ludlow, but then on the other side it has the Moon. This is actually one of the better J. Crew. So you have J. Crew, then you have J. Crew Ludlow, and then you have another sub-brand, which is the Moon line. This is one of the best Ludlow lines. Now, the reason why I listed it low is because it did have this small hole in the sleeve that was showing the underlining of the blazer. This is 100% wool. It was kind of a tweed feel. This was listed for $79.95. It sold for $65. If it didn't have that hole, I probably would have listed it for around $130, but I just, I'm not going to ask that when it has a very obvious hole. It's a very small hole, but like, it's still a hole on the sleeve, so I didn't want to ask full market on that. This sold pretty quickly. I listed it February 7th. It sold February 10th. I actually had a return, so that is a little bit messed up because it was returned, and then when I got it back, I relisted it, but it sold very quickly both times. And then the one other thing that I would say is that I think I paid about $20 for this. And again, like, I will more than happily pay up for quality. Now, on the subject of quality, sometimes you might not know an item and the tag might not jump out at you, but when you just feel it, you can tell that it feels good. This was a crew neck, and it had, like, if you look here, like, you could see this t-shirt is actually not an underneath t-shirt. It's just sewed in at the ends, which is kind of an interesting design choice. So it has like this tie-dye underlayer, but it's only at the hem and on the neckline. Overall, this felt very modern, but it had that very high-quality feel of something that's been professionally faded and kind of professionally aged. And so I looked it up, and I didn't know anything about it. Camp High Collective, I can imagine it's some kind of hiker, climber, etc., mixed with trendy internet culture gear. But beyond that, I don't know anything about it. I didn't even really research it that much. I listed this for $79.95. It sold for $70. I listed it on February 3rd, and it sold on February 3rd. So again, maybe I undersold it if it's selling that fast without... well, it did get an offer. But yeah, I mean, I was super happy with it. I think I paid somewhere in the range of $8 to $10 for it. Next up, Cool, Kuhl. So they have a line, their vintage patina dye, which I definitely would recommend to look out for. They have pants, but they also have jackets. This was the Cool vintage patina dye jacket, and this one sold for $65. I think I originally had it listed for $89.95. I listed it on January 24th, and it sold on February 28th. So I think I listed it a tiny bit high. But overall, keep an eye out for these. I think I paid $25 or $30 for this. I got it on Facebook Marketplace. And these are just really, really high quality outdoor jackets. And overall, kind of has that like kind of broken in look and feel of something like an older Carhartt. So Cool is a brand where a lot of people swear by the brand and swear by selling it, and I do pick it up, but I have found that sometimes it sells a little bit slower than you would expect. And actually with this piece, it's kind of, this taking a month, I thought it would probably sell in a week or two. And I didn't really get a lot of offers on it when it was listed. And it didn't really sell until I had that end of the month sale at the end of February. So just something to keep in mind with Cool. Like, the numbers all look great for the brand, but oftentimes I found it sells a tiny bit slower than you might expect. But that also might be something that I'm doing wrong. I'm curious what your experience has been with Cool, with any of the other brands that I've mentioned. And just as a quick reminder, there's going to be a really, really cool one at the end. Sorry about the terrible listing photo here. I was obviously in a rush and didn't straighten out my little photo board. This is a brand that comes straight out of festival culture. It's a brand called Thrift, and it's a polyester hoodie with. They will always have really, really cool geometric designs. They'll either have them on the outside, like this hoodie, but sometimes it'll be like a jacket or a shirt, and the design will be the lining on the inside. So it might be a solid color, like dark blue shirt, and it will feel high quality, but then the inside will have like some kind of design like this. They collaborate. Thrift as a brand collaborates with a lot of like neo psychedelic artists, and works with them and puts their designs onto their shirts. So I was not actually able to find this exact hoodie. I looked through a bunch of sales trying to find who the artist was, because some of the collaborations can sell for a premium depending on who the artist is. I was not able to find the name of the artist on this one, but I just put in like galactic psychedelic into the title, and the brand itself is strong enough. I found it a couple of times, and every single time it's sold relatively quick. I listed this on November 29th, and it sold January 1st, and I listed it for $99.95, and it actually sold for $64.95. So that's definitely was me saying, hey, I've had this for a couple months. I'm just going to send out an aggressive offer and see if it sells. Usually I'll send offers pretty quickly as soon as somebody likes or like hearts an item. But if I've seen over a period of time that my offers aren't being taken, I'll actually increase the amount I'll decrease the price. I'll increase the gap between what I'm actually listing for and what my offer is. And so this was something like that, where it had been listed for a while. I had sent out a few offers, it hadn't sold. But definitely a brand to keep an eye out for. You're not going to find it a lot, but when you do, most places aren't going to know what it is, but you should be able to make a few bucks on it. Next up, so this is one of my favorite shoe brands. I actually wear these myself, although recently I got a pair of Salomons that I'm also going to start wearing. But this is a brand called Altra, A-L-T-R-A. They are very, very popular in the running community, in the trail running community, in the, off-roading community, etc. They are really, really high quality hiking shoes, running shoes, etc. If you see this is going to be their logo. Pretty much an instant buy. Some models sell for better than others, so that's definitely something you want to look up the model name. You'll be able to do that, over here you can see the ALOA 7R6 P020. You definitely want to look up the model name, but and oftentimes they'll have it directly on there. But usually you'll be able to sell these well. You just have to be careful, as with most running shoes and outdoor shoes, you just want to be careful that they haven't been too random. The tread and the grip is good, that there's not any kind of issues on the like over here for heel burn, that the bottom of them have good tread, all of those kinds of things. I think I got these for maybe $12-15. I listed them for $79.95. I listed them January 26th. They sold February 1st for $60. Next up, Outer Known. So Outer Known is a brand by, I believe it's a surf guy. I want to say Kelly Slater. Yeah, Kelly Slater and menswear designer John Moore. So Outer Known is a pretty high quality brand. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. This is their blanket shirt. It looks and feels like a heavy flannel, but the name for it is the blanket shirt. If you look at the design, you can see. This is what their tag looks like. You may already know about the brand. Most of their stuff is organic cotton. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. I listed it for $79.95 on January 31st. It sold February 2nd for $55. I think I paid $15-ish for this. Next up, this is a pair of Levi's. This is 505s. And again, this is an orange tab. So if you find Levi's with an orange tab, that was one of their kind of premium lines for a while. And this right over here, made in USA. These do have the zipper on them, the made in USA. Then these are from 1993. You could see right over here, 0393. So these are from March 1993. So actually, that's my mistake. I put late 80s into here, and that was my mistake. But then these sold for $60. They were listed on January 24th, and they sold January 26th. So definitely keep an eye out for Levi's orange tabs. Keep an eye out for Levi's made in the USA. Obviously, you know these things if you're watching this video, so I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. Now here's a brand that you maybe don't know about. This is a brand called Victos. They have both weightlifting shoes and they also have jeans. These took a little bit longer than I expected to sell. I listed them on January 14th. They sold February 13th, so they took about a month. They sold for $55, and I listed them for $79.95. I definitely thought I was going to get closer to $60 to $65 for them, but again, they just hadn't sold, so I just started sending out more aggressive offers. I would say their weightlifting shoes generally go even used as long as they're in good condition for around $50 to $70 as well. Their jeans. This was the first time that I found their jeans, but definitely a brand that I would recommend keeping an eye out for, and would recommend picking it up as long as the price is right. I think these were around $10. Brooks. So everybody knows Brooks running shoes. They're great, etc., etc. Probably not worth buying every single pair of Brooks that you see, but the wides and the double wides are, so the 2Es and the 4Es are definitely worth buying, especially if they're in a good size. These are Brooks Ghost 15, men's size 12, 2E wide. These were super clean. They sold, I listed them on January 14th. They sold February 2nd. I listed them for $79.95. They sold $55. I'm more than happy with that. I probably paid about $15 for these. And you'll be able to find these somewhat regularly as long as you're out and about and being out in the universe. And apparently, if you sit around at home all day, you're not going to find things. Who knew? Well, you could if you do online arbitrage, but these are good. Some Brooks are going to be worth it even if they're not wide. I just find that generally the wide ones sell best for me. And like this pair of shoes, if it wasn't wide, I probably would have had to list it at like $49.95 and maybe taken like a $35 offer on it. And paying $15 for that is a little bit of a stretch. It's a fine margin, but it's not a good margin, and there's a difference there. This was listed for a while, I believe. So this is I got this I think at Buffalo Exchange when I was doing the trade-in on some dead inventory there. And so this is a brand called Reformation, and so this is Reformation's woman's small 100% cashmere crew neck sweater, and it is pinkish. The pictures didn't do it as much justice as it should. It's kind of an off-white pinkish color. I had this listed for $79.95. It went into 30% off sale, I think, because it had been listed for a while. Actually, no. I listed it on November 30th, and it sold on December 29th. These are all from the past 90 days, so I'm just surprised that sales from late December are still showing up. But yeah, so this sold for $55.97. It sold for full price once it was put on sale, which just means that I overpriced it by about 30%. Just something to keep an eye out for. I wouldn't necessarily say that everything by Reformation is a guaranteed pickup, but obviously a cashmere sweater from a mid-end luxury brand is always going to be something worth keeping an eye out for. Next up, I actually just got this last week at a yard sale. So this is a Mayflash Universal Arcade stick, and this I listed it for $49.95. I listed it on March 10th. It sold on March 11th. I probably could have listed it for 15 to 20 bucks higher. It sold for full price $49.95, and that was kind of where comps were on this. Like I could have done the thing where I listed it for 20 bucks higher and took an offer and maybe sold it for 55, but I was happy. I think I paid somewhere in the range of $4 to $10 for this at a yard sale, so I was perfectly fine with this. I knew that it would sell well at this price, and I was more than happy to see it go pretty quick. This was a fun Facebook Marketplace pickup. I think I got this for 15 bucks. So I was looking on Facebook Marketplace and I saw this patchwork blazer, and like I actually didn't know the brand. It's a Charles Klein. It's obviously older. But I just thought that it was a really cool looking piece. I looked it up on eBay. I saw that these sold for around 50 bucks, give or take, pretty consistently. And so I went and met up with somebody off of Facebook Marketplace. I paid them the 15 bucks that they were asking for it. And I listed it on February 17th, and it sold on February 26th. And it sold for a full price of $50.96. Obviously, I had it at $59.95, and I got caught up in an end of February sale for 15% off. 15% off. So overall, very happy with this. 15 to 40 to 50, not a problem at all. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was interested in learning Militaria, and this is something that I saw at a thrift store. And this is a flight suit. It's a coveralls, flyers, Type 1, Class 2 tan. And so when I looked that up, I saw that they were selling for around 50 bucks. They actually had two of these. I think I paid $12 for each of them. They both have sold. They've both sold for full price without offers, $49.95. And so, considering my space limitations, it was a little bit difficult to take a good picture of it. So I just kind of folded the legs up over itself and then just took pictures of every part of it throughout. So definitely a lot of pictures for this. Some staining, some minor stuff, like you could see. I think it was on the, I think it was over here. Yeah, there was some staining on this one, but overall, this isn't the kind of thing that the people who are buying it are worried. This is going to be either somebody that's interested in kind of period correct Militaria, or it's going to be somebody that's working in a shop and they just want to have a quality pair of coveralls. And so either way, they're not going to be super worried if it has some small stains on it, as long as it doesn't have any rips or tears on it. Next up, so this is something where I got this at a yard sale as well, and this is a woman's size 6 belted leather trench coat, and kind of matrix style. And this sold really quickly. I listed it March 10th. It sold March 14th. I listed it for $79.95. I sold it for $51. And I probably could have gotten more for it, but it didn't actually have any brand markers on it. It just said genuine leather made in Uruguay. So I think I got it for somewhere in the range of $2 to $8. So I just knew that, yes, I probably could have listed it for $130 and gotten $100 for it. But at the same time, like, I would much rather kind of move my money quicker. Again, the same thing, fast nickel, slow dime kind of concept. So I listed it at $80. I got $50 for it. I'm more than happy with that with my margin. Somebody got a great deal on it because honestly, this was a really, really high quality piece. And I'm really happy. And it had good shape to it as well. So I would just say whoever got this is going to be pretty happy with it. It did have a small stain on the back over there. With somebody has some leather paint, they'll be able to correct that, but obviously you want to make sure that you disclose those as well. This is something that you can be doing if you find a bunch of items of the same brand. So this is a brand called James Purse. Definitely recommend picking it up if you see it. And these are men's 2XL polos. Their sizing is, they do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. But their 5, I believe, is their 2XL. I was at a thrift store. There's this one store that I go to where everything is way too cheap, and I'm not going to say where it is. And so I was there. I found 1 James Purse polo, and I found 2, then I found 3. When I got home, these will sell pretty much all day for around 20 to 30 bucks. But I was like, hey, I would rather just lot them up and sell them, because it looked like lots of them were selling pretty consistently. So I lotted the 3 of them up because they were the same size. I listed them on March 11th. They sold on March 14th, and the lot sold for $50. So sure, did I maybe lose 20 bucks by not listing them individually? Sure, but it was a lot easier for me to list them. It was a lot easier for me to ship them, a lot cheaper for me to ship them as well. And also, considering that I think I had like $2 into each of them, I wasn't particularly worried about maximizing the margin. Next up, this is something that I always keep an eye out for. Most keyboards at a thrift store are not going to be worth it. However, some, and the keyword some, Logitechs will be worth it. The Logitech K800 is worth it. Even if you don't have the charging cord or a cord for them, they also come with this dongle that you have to plug in order to, it's like a little USB plug-in thing that you have to plug in order for it to work. Let me see if I can find an example. I don't actually have it, but even without those, as long as you test it and it turns on and off without issue and there's, no button sticking, these will sell for $50 all day comfortably. This, I listed it for $59.95. I listed it on March 4th. It sold March 6th for $50. I think I paid $6 to $12 for this. I actually had another one that when I tested it was flashing red. Like the little on-off light was flashing red right over here. And that actually sold for $25. And that was because I was reading online that it's pretty easy to replace the batteries on these. And there was a lot of sales of them for parts in the 20 to 25 range. So I think I had $6 into each of them. One didn't work, I sold it for $25. The one that did work, I sold for $50. If you do want to, you can buy the dongle off of Amazon for around $15, and then they'll sell for around $90. But I just don't think it's worth it for me to spend $15 and wait a day or two for it to come from Amazon, and then just to make an extra roughly $15 to $20. To me, it doesn't really balance out when I know how quickly these sell. But if you want to do that, or if you want to stash those, if you're finding these consistently, it might be worth it. That's your choice. Also, if you're selling on Amazon, if you're able to sell these, I haven't looked, but if you're selling on Amazon, this might be worth it for you to do that, so you could sell it complete in use condition. I haven't looked. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you have. Next up, North Face Gore-Tex. North Face Gore-Tex overall is going to be something that you want to keep an eye out for. Usually sells for a good premium. These were a pair of women's large, measured to 32-31. They had that inner lining towards the bottom to kind of clamp around your snow boots. These were originally listed for $49.95, and then they sold for... They sold for, once they went on the 15% off discount at the end of February, they sold for $42.46. These did take, or actually no, sorry, the beginning of January. I think actually, yeah, because I was out of town for the holidays, so I had a sale going. Yeah, so these sold January 9th. I listed them December 2nd. So they took about a month to sell. But keep an eye out for vintage North Face Gore-Tex. And also, on that note, also like vintage nylon Nike stuff can do pretty well as well. And next up, this is a pair of diesel jeans. This is the Safado jean, and you will see that on the inner tag. These were listed for $39.95. I listed them on January 9th. They sold March 12th for... Wait, nope. Where is that? Oh, sorry. These were listed on January 9th. They sold on January 11th for the full price of $39.95. So they sold in 2 days. So diesel jeans, definitely worth keeping an eye out for. These have gray fade on them. I probably should have listed them a little bit higher looking at the fade, but I will remember that next time because of how fast they sold. Next up, so collegiate gear. Everybody knows collegiate gear can be worth it, especially if it's embroidered. This is a Champion Notre Dame. It says Irish Notre Dame on the front. Men's 2XL green heavyweight hoodie sweater. Nothing too crazy. It's not a reverse weave. I would date this to early 2000s. I don't think it's like old, but it's close enough to give it the vintage tag. I listed this for $59.95 on February 10th. It sold February 17th for $38. Next up, Citizens of Humanity. This is the Racer. Let's see if I can find that tag. There we go, the Racer Low-Rise Skinny. Listed these for $49.95 on February 4th. They sold February 9th for $38. Citizens of Humanity, it can be model specific. Most of their models are good, but some are not. I was actually surprised that these were as good as them because skinny jeans have not been in trend or in vogue for a couple years, but these ones seemed like they had a good sell-through rate, so I went ahead and bought them. They sold within just a few days for $38. And then we're almost done. Got one more, just a few more. A lot of these ones that I'm showing now are more just like ones that I think you probably, like they're not going to be as like, ooh, look at how much money I made on this one, like the Hermes, like I sold it for $130. But these are going to be ones that you want to keep an eye out for and are kind of more bread and butter, but maybe not like, like a regular pair of Levi's bread and butter, like a little bit more interesting than that. This is a brand called Reigning Champ. They make a lot of jackets from what I've seen. I think they do a couple other things. This was a really lightweight nylon windbreaker. Probably could have used the word packable. This took a little bit longer than I thought that it would to sell. I listed it on, actually no, I listed it January 23rd and it sold January 28th. Listed it for $49.95 and it sold for $38. Next up, Buck Mason is a brand that you probably have heard of. This is kind of a herringbone twill pair of pants. And these sold, I listed them on March 2nd. They sold March 4th. I listed them for $49.95 and they sold for $36. Faherty is a brand that you probably already know at this point if you've gotten this far in the video. And by the way, thank you again for your patience. Hopefully that this has been helpful for you. Faherty is a bit hit or miss. I would say something like a basic polo from them is probably a skip. This was a quarter zip cotton cashmere sweater. I listed it for $37.95. It sold for $37.95. I listed it on January 18th and it sold on January 19th. So again, some of their basics you might want to be a little bit more careful with. I think this one I probably paid around $10. I would not pay $10 for like a Faherty polo because I've had them listed at times for quite a while and they then sold for like $15. So definitely a very item specific brand, but when it's right, it's right. Their flannels, their sweaters, etc. are definitely worth keeping an eye out for. On the same note, Orvis is a brand that can be hit or miss. They recently went into Costco, so that has really devalued a lot of their brand. The same thing has actually happened with Carhartt, where a lot of the newer stuff from them is just not as interesting because it's being mass produced to a whole different level of scale. This is an older Orvis piece. This is, if you see this kind of knit, this is a hook loop knit. It's a good keyword wherever you see it. This is a Orvis. It's got a shawl collar and it's got the elbow patches, the elbow pads. Everything about this was fun. I won't necessarily say this is the most valuable piece ever, but it's a fun piece. This is the kind of thing where I just like to list it because it's interesting. And it's, to me, it communicates to the person looking at my store that I'm somebody who actually likes interesting pieces. This was listed. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Where is this? But a lot of the Orvis basics I probably wouldn't be buying now, like just a regular shirt, etc. I would be very careful with. So this was listed on January 22nd. It sold March 1st, and I sold for $30, and it was listed originally for $49.95 and then 15% off. So $42.46 was what it sold for. And then next up, so this was a brand that was new to me. This is called Pact. This is what the tag looks like. Felt really high quality. It's organic cotton. And just had this really fun color blocking that had like this little mock drawstring neck thing going on as well. This sold pretty quick. This list was listed on February 17th. It sold March 8th. It sold for the full price of $34.95 plus shipping. And was just a fun thing. I was going through the sweaters and it seemed a little bit out of place. It was actually in the men's section when it's obviously a woman's. And so I looked it up. The material felt really good, so was happy with that. This one, again, if you've gotten this far in the video and you're not like actually doing this and you're not in some way involved with this, then I'm not sure what you're doing with your time. This is one that you probably already know. This is the Magnum PI Paradise Found shirt. This I listed this on January 13th. It sold January 18th. I listed it for $39.95 and it sold for $35. If you see this shirt specifically, the red shirt with the palm leaves and the purple parrot or parakeet on it, macaw on it, then this is from Magnum PI. This is what the Paradise Found t-shirt logo looks like, tag looks like. Generally, I find that these are probably the fastest sellers from Paradise Found, but some of their other pieces can be worth it as well, but can sell significantly slower than this. This is kind of the piece that people, when they think of Paradise Found, that they're actually looking for. Just 4 more items. Again, thank you for your patience. This is a brand that was my first time finding it. It sold really fast. I actually had a return and then it sold really fast again. And the return was just because it didn't fit, or I think it was a little bit too baggy for the person. This is a brand called Western Rise, and these are like a performance nylon hiking pant. This is what the tag looks like, and these were listed on, these were listed originally on, well, no, I'll just use what I have here. Yeah, so listed on January 16th. Oh, sorry, they sold the first time on January 16th, and then they were relisted on January 28th after the return, and then they sold again on February 8th. So it took another 10 days to sell. These were listed for $39.95, and then they sold for $30. And I did tell you that if you hang out to the end, you'd see a really, really fun piece. We got 2 more before that. You might even be able to see the tab for it coming up. This is a pair of Workrite flame-resistant pants. They don't sell super fast, but I do like having some of this more technical gear in my store. It's a kind of a portion of my store that I want to continue expanding on. These were listed on January 21st. They sold March 12th. They were listed for $29.95. They sold for $29.95. These are fire-resistant pants. This is what the tag looks like on the inside. And then on the back, they might also have this Workrite FR. And then they might also, on the other hip, have this like Nomex, and then the categorization for which flame-resistant or fire-resistant category they are. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And then you also want to include the rating that it has over here. It's different pairs of the pants will have different ratings, so you want to make sure that you include that. Next up, this is a brand that you'll see in every single thrift store that you go to, Charter Club. You'll oftentimes see it in women's shirts, women's sweaters, women's pants. Most of it is not worth the time. They do have cashmere sweaters that are worth your time. This, I listed it on January 26th for $34.95. It sold February 13th for $30. So again, you'll find these. They won't be marked up generally. And obviously, if it's cashmere, you want to make sure it doesn't have any pilling, it doesn't have any holes, etc. But if you can get it for around $5, $6, definitely worth it, in my opinion. And then finally, this is the one that I promised. This is something that you're probably not going to find a lot, but it's a super cool piece. So this is Arc'teryx Leaf. So Leaf is military issue only. And so this is the Arc'teryx Leaf Assault Pants. These, I listed them for $289.95, and they sold in, I listed them, let's see, on what day did I list them? I listed them February 26th. They sold February 28th for $249 plus shipping. And so this is something that you definitely want to keep an eye out for. Obviously, you probably know Arc'teryx is a brand that has a lot of technical gear and is worth keeping an eye out for. But Arc'teryx Leaf is kind of the cream of the crop. It's only military issue, so you're not going to be able to just buy it on their website or walk into a store and buy it. And so definitely something that if you can find it, keep an eye out for. And 100% worth your time. I paid $100 for these. I met up with somebody off Facebook Marketplace. I paid them $100 for it. And I thought that they were being generous at that price point. And obviously they were okay with that price point. I think they originally had them listed for like $120 or $150 or something like that. And so definitely something to keep an eye out for. They have pants, they have sweaters, jackets, quarter zips, all of that kind of stuff. Definitely keep an eye out for it. If you go on Facebook Marketplace and look up Arc'teryx Leaf and you find something, it's definitely worth paying for a little bit extra. Overall sells pretty well. I actually have two of the quarter zips listed, two of like the merino quarter zips listed on my store right now. So if you're interested in that, the link to my store will be in the description. If there's anything that you saw today that you have any questions about, feel free to ask them below. If this was helpful for you, let me know what you thought. If you think I said something extraordinarily stupid, let me know in the comments below as well. I hope that this has been helpful for you, and feel free to subscribe, share with a friend, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Peace.